Hello there, I'm talking to you today from the barrel hall at Chateau La Lagune. Now Chateau La Lagune is a third growth from the 1855 classification on Bordeaux's Medoc, so in southwest France. But Chateau La Lagune is one of the few estates to come from outside one of the recognised communes of Medoc. So it simply has the Haut-Médoc appellation, and it's actually in Ludon. So it's one of the first estates that you come to as you drive out from Bordeaux. So this is an en-primeur sample, and this has been specially bottled for the en-primeur tastings. So it will be the same blend as the final wine. However, clearly, as you can see behind us, the wine still needs to age for a while in barrel. In fact, it'll probably stay in barrel for about another year and be bottled just before the next harvest. So 2023 was a vintage where the Cabernet seems to have excelled, and there's beautiful lifted aromas. Now, one of the jewels of La Lagune's vineyard is actually some really old Petit Verdot. However, that wasn't included in the blend this year, and the blend instead is heavier in Cabernet than is normally the case. So this is 65% Cabernet, and the remaining 35% was Merlot in 2023. So looking at it, it has a wonderful, deep, dark, it's virtually opaque purple colour. Yeah, black purple. There's a purple rim. As I swirl it, there's good viscosity. That's quite easily forming legs on the side of the glass. Now, the bright purple colour is likely to be toned down as the wine ages and as the wine spends time in oak. The viscosity I find slightly surprising, as this is only 13.5% alcohol. So that suggests to me there's plenty of tannin in here. So let's have a look at the aromas, shall we? Now, the aromas really do have a very classic, lifted perfume, suggesting the fact that there's plenty of Cabernet Sauvignon in this. There are vivid notes of cassis, maybe a little bit of red currant. The only thing is, in this vintage, you've got lovely ripeness, so whereas sometimes I'd associate cassis with a sort of a leafy cassis note, no vegetality in this whatsoever. The grapes have been picked fully ripe, and there's none of that sort of leafy, lean note in here at all. The oak, not very much to the fore at all at this stage. So let's have a taste. Gosh, so the wine that has such lovely open aromas is actually quite tightly knit on the palate. There's some very, very fine grainy tannins, almost starting off with a sort of a bitter licorice type concentration. There really is a tightness here. And the winemaker here, Frey, was telling me they quite carefully use an amount of press wine that's blended back in there to give the wine structure. So I think that's part of a deliberate move to structure the wine. Because in general, actually, extraction has been very gentle. They're just sort of very light pump overs. She was saying more for oxygenation to ensure the ferments are progressing properly than necessarily to ensure extraction. The acidity really is coming through there. And the combination of acidity and tannin is beautifully mouthwatering. And actually what were tight, I was saying bitter licorice, almost tarry sort of tannins, are just, as I'm talking to you, they're staying in my mouth, the flavours are lasting really long, but they're just resolving themselves and they're smoothing out, which I guess is what you'll find with the aging process. So it's possible that La Lagune, unlike some of the wines from this 2023 vintage, where I felt they'd be easy to put in your cellar, but actually you might be grabbing them to drink after a couple of years. I think La Lagune might need 5 or 6 years to just soften and smooth out before it really starts to show quite how spectacular the fruit is from those aromas. But yes, even as I'm talking to you, those tannins are really starting to resolve themselves on my tongue. It's giving a long, really fairly supple finish. There was quite a lot of bite on the attack, but now the sort of the savoury notes starting to smooth out, and they're providing some quite intense flavours on the finish. I think the good acidity is helping keep the wine alive. The balanced alcohol is stopping it from seeming hot. So yes, Chateau La Lagune, third growth from the southern Medoc, a wine I think that will sit very nicely in the cellar there. So thank you very much for watching. I do hope you've enjoyed the tasting. If you have, do please press the like button. Do consider signing up and subscribing to our YouTube channel. That would be great. And that way you can be notified whenever we post a new video. If you have any comments, please leave those in the comments box below. And if you want to know more about La Lagune, and as time goes on and the en-primeur campaign develops, you want to see pricing, I'll leave a link to La Lagune and its page on Wine Searcher for you there. So you can follow that up and you can see all the other details surrounding the wine. So thank you again for joining us, and do please come and join us again soon, won't you? Bye for now.